Imagine this. You've just faced a setback. Maybe it was a job rejection after weeks of preparing for the interview. Maybe it was a relationship you thought would last, but it suddenly ended. Or perhaps it's a goal you've been working toward for months or even years. And despite giving everything, you fell short. In those moments, it feels like the ground beneath your feet has crumbled, and you're left wondering, what now? Where do I even go from here? Setbacks are one of the few things in life that are truly guaranteed. Every single person, no matter how talented, successful, or strong they appear, will encounter failures, losses, or challenges. But here's the truth that makes the difference between those who remain stuck and those who rise stronger. It's not the setback itself that defines your future. It's your ability to respond. It's resilience, the power to adapt, to recover, and to bounce back when life knocks you down. When you think of resilience, it might seem like some people are just born with it. Maybe you picture Olympic athletes who keep pushing after injuries, or entrepreneurs who rebuild after their businesses fail. But resilience is not a rare gift reserved for the chosen few. It's a skill, a mindset, a muscle that each of us can build, strengthen, and apply to our own lives. Psychologists define resilience as the ability to cope with stress and adversity and to return to a baseline level of functioning, or sometimes even grow beyond it. It doesn't mean you don't feel pain, frustration, or sadness. It means you're able to face those feelings and keep moving forward instead of letting them paralyze you. Now think about the strongest people you know. Not necessarily the richest or most famous, but the ones who inspire you by how they live. If you look closely, you'll find that many of them didn't have an easy journey. In fact, their strength came from the struggles they had to endure. They discovered that resilience isn't about avoiding hardship. It's about learning how to transform it. Let's take a step back and really break this down. When life throws a challenge your way, your brain immediately reacts. Stress hormones kick in, your fight or flight system activates, and your mind starts scanning for threats. This reaction is wired into us. It's a survival mechanism. But resilience comes into play when, after that initial hit, you're able to pause, breathe, and shift from panic to problem solving. For example, imagine failing an exam. The first reaction might be shame, self-doubt, or anger. But resilience steps in when you reframe the situation. Instead of saying, "I'm not smart enough," you say, "This result doesn't define me. It shows me where I need to improve, and now I know how to prepare differently next time." The facts haven't changed. You still failed that test, but your interpretation changes everything about how you move forward. This is the foundation of resilience. The way you interpret and respond to challenges shapes the outcome more than the challenge itself. Psychologists call this concept cognitive appraisal, your evaluation of whether a situation is a threat you can't handle or a challenge you can overcome. The more often you choose the second lens, the stronger your resilience becomes. History gives us countless examples of resilience in action. Think of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison. Most people would have been broken by that experience, filled with bitterness and anger. But Mandela used that time to reflect, to prepare, and to come out stronger, becoming a global symbol of reconciliation and peace. Or consider J.K. Rowling, who faced rejection after rejection before her. Harry Potter manuscript was finally published. If she had stopped after the 10th rejection, the world would never have known her story. What these examples show us is not that resilience makes life easy. It doesn't. They still faced hardship, uncertainty, and pain. But resilience gave them the ability to turn obstacles into stepping stones and losses into lessons. But you don't need to be Mandela or Rowling to practice resilience. Every day, in small and large ways, You are presented with opportunities to bounce back. Maybe it's after a disagreement with a friend. Maybe it's when your plans don't unfold the way you wanted. Or maybe it's something much bigger. A health scare, financial struggles, or personal heartbreak. Each of these moments gives you a choice. Will you let this setback define you, or will you use it to redefine yourself? Let me tell you something powerful. Resilience does not erase pain. It does not mean you pretend everything is fine when it isn't. True resilience acknowledges the difficulty. It allows you to sit with discomfort, to process emotions, but then to rise with determination. It's about balancing acceptance with action. Think of resilience like a tree in a storm. The winds are fierce, the rain pounds down, branches might bend or even break. But the tree doesn't collapse because its roots run deep. Its flexibility allows it to bend without snapping. And once the storm passes, it stands tall again. You are that tree. The deeper your roots, your mindset, your values, your coping strategies, the more storms you can weather. So how do you actually build resilience in your own life? One of the first steps is shifting your perspective. Challenges often trigger the thought, why me? Why now? But resilient people ask a different question. What can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? This doesn't mean romanticizing hardship or pretending suffering is a gift. It means recognizing that within every setback lies the potential for growth. Another key factor is self-compassion. Too often, when we face setbacks, we become our own harshest critics. We replay our mistakes, amplify our flaws, and convince ourselves we're not capable. But research shows that people who treat themselves with kindness in difficult times are far more likely to recover and keep going. Self-compassion fuels resilience by reminding you that failure is not final, it's feedback. Social support is another pillar of resilience. Think about it. When life knocks you down, having someone to lean on makes the weight easier to bear. Whether it's a friend, a family member, or a mentor, the presence of someone who believes in you strengthens your own belief in yourself. Resilient people don't isolate themselves in times of struggle. They reach out, they connect, and they share their journey. And then there's adaptability. Life is constantly changing, and setbacks often come when we're holding too tightly to one plan or outcome. Resilience requires flexibility, the ability to adjust, to pivot, to explore new paths when the old ones are blocked. It's like water flowing around a rock. The rock may stop it for a moment, but water always finds another way forward. Now here's something important to understand. Resilience doesn't develop overnight. It's not a one-time choice, but a daily practice. Every small challenge you face, every time you choose patience over panic, courage over fear, effort over giving up, you are training yourself to be more resilient. I want you to pause for a moment and reflect on your own life. Think back to a time you faced a setback that felt overwhelming. Maybe you thought you'd never get through it, but you did. You're here listening to this now, which means you've already shown resilience in your past. That's proof that it exists within you, even if you don't always feel it. The next time life knocks you down, remember this: you've already survived 100% of your hardest days. You are stronger than you give yourself credit for. And resilience is not about never falling, it's about refusing to stay down. If resilience is like a muscle, then the question becomes, how do you train it? How do you strengthen it so that when life throws its inevitable storms your way, you're not just surviving, but growing? Psychology gives us some powerful answers. One of the most researched ideas tied to resilience is the concept of a growth mindset. Dr. Carol Dweck's work at Stanford showed that people who believe their abilities can improve through effort and learning are more likely to recover from setbacks and continue striving. Think about it. If you see failure as proof that you're not good enough, you'll give up. But if you see failure as feedback, as data you can use to get better, then every setback becomes fuel for growth. That's resilience in action. Another strategy is cognitive reframing, which comes from cognitive behavioral therapy. It's about consciously shifting the way you interpret challenges. Instead of saying, "This is the end," you ask, "What's the opportunity here? What can this teach me? How can I grow from this?" By reframing the story you tell yourself, you literally rewire your brain to respond more constructively. Neuroscience shows us that new thought patterns create new neural pathways, making it easier over time to bounce back. Then there's the power of small habits. Resilience isn't built only in big, dramatic moments. It's cultivated in everyday choices. Things like practicing gratitude, journaling, exercising, or even just taking a few deep breaths. During stress, all of these train your nervous system to recover faster from adversity. When you build healthy habits in calm times, you're training your body and mind for the hard times. Stress inoculation is another fascinating concept from psychology. Just like a vaccine introduces a small, controlled dose to build immunity, facing smaller challenges prepares you for bigger ones. Every time you stretch your comfort zone, whether it's speaking up in a meeting, trying something new, or confronting a fear, you're teaching yourself that discomfort isn't deadly. Over time, this builds resilience by proving that you can handle more than you think. And perhaps one of the most underrated tools of resilience is purpose. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning that people who could find meaning in their suffering were the ones most likely to endure it. When you have a why, you can survive almost any how. Purpose doesn't make pain disappear, but it gives it direction. It turns suffering into strength. So here's the truth. Resilience is not about never breaking. It's about learning that even when you do, you can rebuild. It's about knowing that your scars aren't signs of weakness. They're proof of your strength. Every setback you've faced so far has prepared you for the next chapter of your life. I want you to picture yourself a year from now. Imagine looking back on the challenge you're facing today and realizing that it didn't end you, it shaped you. It forced you to grow in ways you never thought possible. That's what resilience offers, the ability to transform your pain into progress. Yes, setbacks will come. You'll stumble, you'll fall, you'll feel the weight of life pressing down. But resilience reminds you that no matter how heavy the load, you can rise again. You can bend without breaking, and you can turn every end into a new beginning. So the next time you're knocked down, take a deep breath. Remind yourself, this moment does not define me. This challenge is temporary. I've risen before and I will rise again. Because resilience isn't about avoiding the storm. It's about learning to dance in the rain. And if you hold on to that truth, there is no setback, no failure, no heartbreak that can stop you from moving forward. You are stronger than you think, braver than you believe, and more resilient than you realize. That is the power of resilience, the power to rise, to recover, and to keep becoming the strongest version of yourself.